Hi, Assalamualaikum. Today, Wednesday, we have our class, but I also provide you with a note. And currently, we already in our module 6, which is under MPI communication. So first of all, what we're going to look into is on the sending and receiving message. So if you can see, this is the example how you send and also you receive. So you will send your message and you're going to send it into several nodes or computer, or also hardware, let's say, and then also application and programming. And what will be covered in our module 6, not module 6, because basically module 6 that is divided into two parts, but what we're going to cover in this video is on the message data type and then NPI communication types. So there are two communication types, which is point-to-point communication and collective communication. So not yet touch on this message type and also MPI communication type. We will look into the first thing on the common MPI environment. So there is a common in MPI environment, what is normally happen in the environment, and last video I already touched also in the MPI world environment extra. So first of all is it have the multiple processes, which is created. So you need to create your MPI environment first. So it is a multiple processes, and processes communication with other process, which called as a cooperating processes. Communication by passing message to other process, it is called as message passing. This is the keyword mechanism. This is the mechanism that normally you are using in the common MPI environment, especially in sending and receiving the message. And the MPI is the library that support its implementation. Of course, if you didn't have the MPI library, so you cannot support the MPI environment. So if you run it, then it will be error, because that you didn't have the library. Not only MPI, but others programming also need to have their own library to handling all. So you can see back what we're going to learn is on the message data type, and then MPI communication. There are two point-to-point communication and also collective communication. Then we touch on the common environments for MPI. So you need to know that it is a multi-processes. It is a multi-processes. It is a multi-processes, and then it's processed under a cooperative processes. And another one more thing, which is on the message passing mechanism. So you need to have the MPI library. What is the data type that used under MPI normally? So this is under common MPI version. So data type used in the message has to be MPI data type. So the rest data that use or you try to point to your MPI services, it's of course not going to be run. The MPI data types are defined in your MPI.hash file. Normally, if you check your programming, you can see that there is a file that you are pointing to. Where is the programming? So you can check over here. I can select. You need to include the MPI library. So the MPI library, all your data types are listed there. So go back to this previous slide. Okay, over here. So in the message, there is a type also under MPI, but you can check all the listed data types that already defined in the MPI hash file. Okay, I want to play around with colors. MPI basic data type and also C or C++ basic data type. So you can see the comparison between this MPI data type and also C++ or C data type. So normally in your C or C++, you already familiar with all the type, and of course you need to have the library for C or C++, and same goes to MPI. If you want to use the MPI, so you need to have it. And what is the data type support? It is listed here, which is MPI char, and it is similar to the sign char in the, let me change the colors, sign char for the C or C++ type. And for the short integer, it is a sign short integer, and for the MPI, it is a MPI short. So if you already familiar with C and C++, it's quite easy for you to hand on to the MPI because it's just similar on the data type. And then on the sign short, on the integer part and the MPI, similar to the sign integer in the C or C++. And integer long, of course you have the integer short and integer long, and for the MPI you use the MPI dash long. Next is MPI unsigned char. It is for unsigned char under C or C++. MPI unsigned short. This is for the char also. And there is another one which is a long. So normally you will have the long, the short and long, and then the normal char. And it's for the C and C++, it's similar, which is unsigned char, although it is short or long, because normally you're going to have only different in integer for C or C++, which is you assign the integer in long or short, and then a normal integer. But for char, of course, you know there is a more to like variables or sentences that is supported in the program. So it is a similar for all, whether it's short, long, and also if you are having the unsigned value or and also variable. So MPI, they are unsigned under the data type. And then for float, it also similar to C, which is under float, and MPI double for MPI, and vice versa is similar also to the C and C++. So under category of MPI communications, as you check in your first slide, in the beginning slide, that you already noticed that you only have two categories in your MPI communication. Either it is point to point or it is a collective communication. You only have these two categories under your communication. So let's take a look deeper in each communication. So first of all, you look into the point-to-point communication. Point-to-point communication is a communication between two processes, which is one-to-one. Normally, I cannot draw here, I think. I never try before. Okay, normally when we are dealing with, because last time I teach data communication, so normally we know if it is a I cannot draw. Sorry, I just try and error. What happened over here? Just assume this is PC1, and then I have another PC or computer. So let's see, this is computer and this is a laptop. And the point to point, how I'm going to draw? I think you can draw over here. So it will be having a point to point direct communication when you have two direct point between each other. Maybe it is just a connected via a wired, or you connect it directly via a wireless or even a Bluetooth. So it's depend. Only what I want to see and show here is in data communication also they are point-to-point communication. It basically similar because it is still under the networking. So under networking, although it is under MPI, it's using a similar type. So it means that all the theory and the processing is similar. So when you are having a communications between to each other, directly it's connected to each other and it's having a exchange in data. So it's called as a point-to-point communication. So just ignore all of this. How to delete? Okay, just ignore this part. And both processes are in the same communicator. You must have the sender and you must have the receiver. This is a communication. If let's say you talk alone, which is you say hello to your friend, to yourself, it's not called as a communication, right? So you need to say or wish to someone else. So it's called as communication when you have two parties, which is one party is called as a sender and another party is called as a receiver. Or normally in a computing term, we call it as a sender, whereby it is a source, and then the receiver normally it is a destination. So I do believe that all of you familiar with all of this because of course you already play around with a lot of networking term. And under this point-to-point communication, what type of communications are using is synchronized and unsynchronized. Normally we are play around with this term a lot currently under MCO because if let's say we have touched in our learning classes, which is when we have this online classes, it called as synchronized because we directly having a communication with each other. But you can also have the unsynchronized communication, which is you still communicate. Let's say I communicate with you but using a online application, but like, okay, I give you the example unsynchronized, which is when I give you a email, so you directly receive it, but you not in purposely simultaneously open and we communicate to each other. So synchronized is simultaneously happen or in the communication. And then there is a blocking and non-blocking for type and of communication. Why this just saying about unsynchronized? Okay. Supposedly I think it's already messed up. I touch first on synchronized communication. Synchronized operation is when sender know when the receiver has received the message, and receiver know when the sender send the message also. So this is one of the type for the synchronized operation. While for unsynchronized, sender may send without knowing when the message will be received or read by the receiver. So you don't know whether your receiver already get the message or not because there is no notification, something like that. And receiver does not know when the message was sent exactly, let's say 2 p.m. or on Tuesday or Friday. So there is no casting on notifications throughout the sender and also receiver term. So this is under unsynchronized. So for blocking and non-blocking, blocking communication is also known as is also happen when the communication operation has complete. So when the process is complete, you cannot send any other communication type because it's already stopped you and blocked you. But this one you need to set up. It's not just purposely happen, something like that. But this is on the type of communication. And then you can also have the non-blocking communication operation, which is a process may continue with next instruction without waiting the communication operation has complete. So without knowing or notice that the previous communication already done or not, so it continues with other process, other application and so on. The unblocking process can always find out the status of the non-blocking operation until test and wait function. So all the non-blockings you need to take note. All non-blocking operation should have matching wait operation, because some of the system cannot free resources until wait operation has cancelled. So that is on the non-blocking. Still under, you can see over here, still under our point-to-point communication. So you need to know under point-to-point communication, there are also several types, which is, I repeat again, which is synchronized and unsynchronized. And another one is blocking and also non-blocking communication. This is under point to point. Now we go another deeper to on the point to point, which is on the mode. So MPI communication modes for the function, you need to see that when you want to call or having the procedure under your MPI programming or coding. Let's say over here, integer MPI which is on send. This one is the command on the blocking operation. It is for the purpose type for synchronized message or communication. So you need to know and remember that this command only used for synchronized communication under your point to point. And then this command for MPI be sent is non-blocking operation, which is it called as unsynchronized. Next is under your integer MPI send. This integer MPI they send can cover both communication type, which is blocking and non-blocking in one time. So you can have synchronized simultaneously with unsynchronized. So the example is messages can directly go to receiver or go into the buffer, because you need to wait and etc. if you are having the synchronized, and provided by MPI. Those is fixed the size of your buffer. And then another one thing is on MPI resend is under the non-blocking operation. So it's ready to send when the receiver is ready. So you need to know whether the receiver is ready or not. Similar, like let's say you are having your printer, you want to print something. Normally you can see that whether your device is already ready or not. Then you can have the printing works. If it is not yet ready, so it's like waiting or in a buffer things, you cannot perform your operations on doing printing and etc. And then MPI RECV, which is under also your data type, and also this one you already looked yesterday, command and status. So it is under the blocking operation. Only it will be complete when it has received.